My name is Trinity, and if you are here, you must be here to talk about books because that's why I'm here, to talk about some books. And in today's video, I am going to be talking about my top 10 favorite books of all time. And this is not series, this is particular books. And I am going to tell you some things about them and why I love them so much. So I'm going to go from 10 to 1. We're going from the book that I like the least to the book I like the most, which honestly, I love all of these books. So there's no real losers in this competition because it's not a competition. It's just books that I love. And coming in at number 10 is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. I cannot find my copy. I think I lent this book to someone and I never got it back. But this is a book that I read years and years and years ago and still sticks with me. And if I can read something and it sticks with me for, the rest of my life, I will have to, give the book a slot on my top 10. But The Poisonwood Bible is about a missionary who goes overseas and has to deal with life there and what it looks like, how it's going to affect him, his family, and maybe he goes a little crazy. But it is very, very good, very heart-wrenching, very kind of in your face with how deep it delves into the human psyche. And I love books that delve into the human psyche. That's kind of my thing. But I love it, love it, love it, and it will always hold a spot on my top 10, even if it is just at the 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is a book that I read last year, and it reminded me that, hey, I like sci-fi, or really pointed out to me the fact that I like sci-fi. And I should have known, because, Mass Effect is my favorite, video game, and there just should have been signs that I like sci-fi. And I just was not picking up sci-fi books. But I ended up reading this book and thought, oh my gosh, yes, this is everything I want in a novel. Like, why am I not picking up more sci-fi? And that would be The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. Everything I like about books is in this book. Very quick, concise world building, relationships to root for. I love this book so much. I did not anticipate this breaching my top 10 of all time, at all. And, this has kind of showed me that there's much more to sci-fi than science. And I think that's where my brain wanted to go when talking about sci-fi, when exploring sci-fi. But the world building in this is great. The characters in this are great. The plot is fabulous. I was sucked in by the plot of this book, from the get-go. And then it just gets twisty and turny and I go nuts over it every time I get the chance to talk about it. And it's pretty great, guys. It's pretty great. Okay, next on my list of favorite books, number 8, I, Mona Lisa by Jean Calogridis. Now, you can pretty much insert anything written by Jean Calogridis in this slot because I love her writing. It's so dark. It's so beautiful. She tackles characters from history that are already pretty dark and gives them an even darker edge to their tale. And this is a book that I highly recommend to people who are switching from fantasy to historical fiction because of the writing style. Not because there are fantasy elements in this, but because of the writing style. I think that you will be drawn, especially if you like grimdark fantasy and you're trying to read some historical fiction. I definitely recommend anything written by Jane Kologridis, really. They're very, very good. The Burning Times could go here. I, Mona Lisa could go here. The Borgia Bride could go here. I highly recommend anything by Jane Kologridis. Just, I'm gonna keep saying that if I don't stop talking about this book. So, I, Mona Lisa, set in Florence and centers around the Medici clan. So you can do with that what you will. But as we all know, the Medicis were corrupt. And she follows dark characters in history, so dark people. But I highly recommend this if you are a fantasy lover going to historical fiction. Like I said, no fantasy elements in it, but the writing, I think, will be what actually makes you enjoy it. Okay, and there is a book that I keep forgetting to mention on my top favorite books of all time, and I don't know why, but I was trying to come up with my list, and I think it's because it's horror, and I don't think people like horror. In my brain, people don't like horror. That's what I tell myself. And so I go to make a list, and then I'm like, I don't like horror. I love horror. It's one of my favorite genres. And so then this just gets set aside and I don't talk about it. But you'll see how much I like this book because of how well loved it is. I'm a stickler for my books looking pretty pristine. But here's Brahms the Child Thief. Evil Peter Pan! As he should be, because that boy is creepy. I love Brom. I love Brom. He is dark and twisted and, hang on. His books are illustrated, which adds to the creep factor, and I adore this so, so much. I highly recommend people pick up Brom and give him a go, especially if you like Lovecraftian type things, because so dark, so beautiful, so horrific. Evil Peter Pan, pick it up. And this is actually based in the original tale of Peter Pan too, so there's that. And shifting gears completely, coming in at number 7 would be Goddess of the Rose by P.C. Cast. This is my favorite romance series. I absolutely adore it. Women from the real world, or our world, end up being summoned and trading places with goddesses in Olympus, and then the goddess comes to our world to live a normal life, and the women become the goddesses. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I adore it. I adore this entire series, but this one is my favorite because it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. If you don't like sex in your books, don't get this. It's a romance. It's steamy. It's wonderful. Everybody read it. Coming in at number 6 is a book that I read last year. That would be Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. This is a World War II novel set in France. We have the Nazi occupation of France going on, and 2 sisters who are struggling to survive the Nazi occupation of France. And one of the said sisters becomes a hero in her own right and ends up ferrying British pilots across enemy lines so they can get home to their families. And it's absolutely beautiful, heartbreaking, just amazing. Kristen Hanna is one of the best historical fiction writers I have read. Jean Calogridis as well. Jean Calogridis is dark. Kristen Hanna is emotional. And I adore this book so much. And if you've been paying attention to my channel for any amount of time, these next 4 books are not going to shock you in the slightest at all. There's no way they can shock you because I've talked about them way too much. Way too much. And I have realized that I got off count because I do not have the Poisonwood Bible, or I can't find my copy of the Poisonwood Bible, so I have been going way off track. We are on number 4. Just ignore the fact that I got the numbers wrong. So coming in at number 4, that would be The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. And the reason I chose this one over Well of Ascension or Hero of Ages is because of Kelsier. And I absolutely adore Kelsier. I think he is one of the greatest characters ever written. He is so multifaceted. You never know what's going on in the guy's head. And it is our introduction to the Mistborn series, which I find to be absolutely fantastic. I think it is a masterpiece, and it's just, it's beautiful. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love it. Coming in at number 3, Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I have said multiple times that if there was a book out there that if I could have written it, this would be the book I wrote. The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson is definitely that book. I adore this book so much. Again, I like dark things. This book is dark. It is about a girl who figures out that she is descendant from a witch and she has powers herself. And she is raised in this very Puritan community where witches are shunned, and the birthright that she should be inheriting is something that everyone in the town thinks is evil. And she shows up and shows out. And I just adore it so much. So much. Like, so much. Okay. And before we get to the number 1 spot on my top 10 favorite books, I'm gonna warn you, I am pulling a Daniel Green. I have a 0 slot. The one that will stay in this slot and never move. And you guys are probably already know what it is because you can probably see it missing from my shelves. But I'm pulling a Daniel Green, and coming in at number 2, we have the book I just finished reading, The Burning White by Bran Weeks. This book is fantastic. I cannot get over how good this book was. I cannot get over all of the things that happened in this book. It's 1,000 pages almost, and I adored every page. There was nothing about this book that I thought was overdone. There was nothing about this book that I was like, what happened? Where are we going? Why are we doing this? Love. This is the best ending to a series that I have come across, and that is saying something. Coming in at number 1, and I have a 0, but coming in at number 1 would be The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This book is beautifully written. Absolutely beautifully written. It is a work of art in and of itself. I cannot get over the fact that this book exists. And I do like Kavoth. I understand that he is an unlikable character. I understand why. I get it. But I do like Kavoth. And, you know, if you're looking for a book that has very lyrical writing, prose to outshine most other prose in existence, just this book is it. And this book is almost perfect to me. Almost. We do have a 0 slot for a reason. And even though this next book is not part of my favorite series, this book is my absolute favorite book of all time, will always be, can't change it, won't change it, and I adore the main character. I think that the writing is absolutely fantastic. And you guys probably know what it is. That would be Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. I said that The Name of the Wind was near perfect. I think Bloodsong is perfect. Do I think the whole series is perfect? No! But I love this book so, so much. I love everything about this book. I can go on and have gone on and on about Anthony Ryan's writing style. I just absolutely adore it. His descriptions are very deliberate, and I think when I say descriptions are deliberate, let me explain that a little bit, because I've had people say, what do you mean by that? His descriptions are not there to fill the page. They are there to give intentional world building, intentional setting, intentional character development. Like, his descriptions add to the plot of the story. That is what it means for you to have deliberate description. And I think Anthony Ryan does it so well. His battle scenes are so good. His character development is top-notch. I think the only person I have seen that can do character building as well as him is Joe Abercrombie. And I don't know, everything I love about fantasy, Anthony Ryan does. And everything I hate about fantasy, Anthony Ryan doesn't do it. And so he is the perfect author for me, and I happen to think this book is probably one of the best books ever written. But that is my top 10 books of all time, plus, you know, the one that stands above them all. And I hope you enjoyed it. Now, this list does change quite often because I continue to read books incessantly. I won't ever quit. And so, you know, next year or in 6 months when I do this again, you'll probably see different books on this list. And that is okay because tastes change and I continue to read books, and so I don't know that all of these will stay. I mean, we all know that there is one of mine that will never change, which is why I pulled a Daniel and put it in the 0 slot, but I think these are the best books I've ever read. And let me know, what are some of the best books that you ever read? Do you like the books that are on my list? Have you read the books that are on my list? If not, let me know if you now plan on reading them. All right, like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!